Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is the weekly news roundup and the privacy edition. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you want to catch the show live. Before we dive on in, you can help support the channel if you want by having a look at our affiliates. One of those is Private Internet Access. So if you can head on over to my affiliate link, tlm.li/PIA, where you can get a year of VPN access for $40. You can also get your monthly and 6-month access as well. You can connect several devices, 10 devices simultaneously. It used to be like 5 or 6, and then all of a sudden just jumped up to 10. So 10 simultaneously connected devices, which is really good. They do block ads, trackers, malware, things like that that are known. They do actually do a pretty good job of blocking those. So if you are a person who needs a VPN, have a look at Private Internet Access. But with that, let's go ahead and have a look at the privacy news. The first is an update. The FCC proposes a $200 million fine spread across all 4 of the mobile carriers for sharing that location data. If you guys remember that, that was almost 2 years ago now, where you could actually go and you could just enter the phone number and, you'd get a location ping back. Private Eyes were using that and things like that. So the FCC is like, we're going to put our foot down. $200 million spread across all of them. I think Verizon had the largest section. It was like, was it 60 million or something? And one of them had only like 18 million, which represents for the highest fine. I think it was like 1/1000% of their annual revenue is what they got fined. So don't do that. Don't do that. So anyway, that is how stupid our FCC happens to be. Anyway, on to the newer news. The news are new or whatever. So many people sent me this article here. I'm actually not even completely sure why. I mean, it's a fascinating story. It was on my list before the first person sent it to me. But yes, Amazon is expanding its little cashierless Go model, which was basically a little convenience store with a full-fledged grocery store. So you can head on into the local grocery store there in Seattle, and it's basically says the same model. And the one guy who worked, I think it was this Nick here who works in this area here, actually went in there and tried to figure out if he could steal some bananas. And I believe he was able to steal some bananas, but they ended up stealing an avocado back from him. It was just this fun little thing. It turned out that he had a bunch of stuff, then he went to the restroom, and then he changed his attire when he was in the restroom and came out, and they just didn't know who he was after he left the restroom. So that's how he was able to trick it. And the idea, it's the same thing. It's perpetually monitoring and logging anything and everything. You just use your app to go in, bags you shop, and simply walk on out, and they're going to process everything. Isn't that so wonderfully glorious? So they do give you the location there, and basically, I think that this is just too much information. Like, here's one thing I didn't really see anybody talking about. What happens when a company like Amazon, which feeds on a lot of this data collection, now knows everything that you buy at the grocery store? Of course, Google probably does if you're using a credit or debit card there, because when you do that, then the challenge is that now every single thing they know you are doing, they can track. My train of thought has derailed, if you haven't noticed. I'll get right back on track here. I got distracted. Ashton Stop, thank you for that super chat. He says, wait, hold up, he stole a banana. That is right. Awesome. Anyway, let's get back on track now. Thank you for that super chat, my friend. Amazon's now figuring out what we're doing. Of course, if you're using a credit or debit card, nearly all that information goes not only to Google, but to Facebook. So they can actually track down some of the things that you buy. In this case of Amazon, they can get down to the little nitty-gritty individual itemized items. And that, to me, is a little bit scary. I like going to the grocery store, wearing my hat, paying my cash, and then they know quite a bit less about what I'm buying because I also don't use a Shoppers Club card. All right, this one here, Chrome is deploying in the latest version deep linking text. So this behaves kind of like an anchor on a website. So an anchor, you can go to the page and then hashtag anchor name, and then it will go right to the page. Well, what Google is starting to do is they're now able to index individual keywords on the page. So if you're searching for an individual keyword, in the case that's kind of relevant here is cancer. So you click on a link and it'll go not just to the article, but down to a relevant part in the keywords. So the researchers at Brave kind of came out and said, you know, this is kind of problematic because you can actually see that the data is being collected and analyzed, which he basically goes in and says, they can determine where you're looking at your keyword density, where you're automatically clicking and scrolling to in Chrome, and you can actually figure out the individual words that somebody is looking at, which is definitely an interesting and valid point. Now, the Google engineers did kick this around back and forth and finally said, we don't really care. We want as much data as possible. They still do deny that this is a huge data risk. But basically, the idea here is that the web browser will now go through and index individual keywords, load directly onto the keywords you're looking for, which basically means you'll be reading articles without the context, as if we didn't already have a bad enough time as it was. All right. Santa Clara University, another one for you college students. Santa Clara University adds support for the contactless ID cards on iPhone and Apple Watch. I did actually spend a little bit more time digging into this article than I usually do because I was really curious as to the company behind this. So the company behind this is listed here in the article, and what's the name of it? It's not Transact. Maybe it is Transact. I don't know. Whatever company they're working with to do this, I was looking into it's like, are they collecting data? Because it's a fundamental problem when their student ID is connected to a device with massive GPS trackers. It's unclear to me if they're actually doing that. According to their investor reports, is where you want to go to figure this kind of stuff out. They're actually making their money by the fact that your ID is also connected to a bank account and connected to the Apple Pay. And so when you are a student, or shall we say roaming around campus with your iPhone or your iWatch connected to all these devices, and you're just like, go by, bloop, bing, give me my Fritos, bloop, give me my Three Musketeers, bloop, give me my Coke, bloop, give me my diabetes. And you're just scanning all this stuff automatically. Not only is Apple getting a cut of every transaction going on in the university, but also the company that is integrating it is. So that seems to be the case. Now, having done some work in the college sector before, as far not just as a professor teaching in the college sector, but I also shifted and did academic software sales to universities. The biggest thing about universities is if you can sell either the university or the professor in that university, you automatically have a required capture of X number of customers without having to acquire X number of customers. You got to just put your focus into acquiring the university or the professor. So we loved doing the presentations with the 2,000 student professor classes. We get those students or those professors on board, we have a massive commission payout. You get the little professor with 10 students, whatever, I'll get to that if I can. So that's kind of what's going on. So here they have 5,500 undergraduate students that they're guessing that the majority of people are using this. And this is a fundamental problem I have itself. If these students are all running around with iPhones and Apple Watches, maybe they need to shift their financial priorities a little bit because, frankly, those are really expensive devices for college students. That is probably, that's more money than the first 3 cars I've had at the same time I was going to college, okay? This is a fundamental problem with the debt. And now, of course, with it being this convenient, it becomes that much easier to just scan and scan and scan. And then a few other companies are digging into the pie here. Students don't have to worry about losing their IDs, things like that. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? But the last story we want to cover here is Clearview. Remember, Clearview is this AI, this highly secretive AI that is harvesting and scraping all the data. So Clearview AI, Tom, I'm Tom. There you go. Get enough? All right, there you go. Here, I'll just do the full thing for you, Clearview AI. All right, and AI, you're not allowed to use my image. Sorry, it's copyrighted. You use my image, you owe me $5 billion. Anyway, Clearview AI, which is very secretive, selling their systems to law enforcement. Well, it turns out that somebody got in there and got access to its list of customers. And so we kind of know now, and I don't think this article has the list, but there's like 2,200 customers. FBI, NSA, CIA, several universities are in on this. Speaking of universities, several police departments. It's so dirty. In fact, New York's like, no, it's too dirty for us, man. New York's going out of their way to disavow this program. Oh, we don't use it, man. It's really bad when New York cops are not using it. Wow. Now, when Chicago cops stop using it, it's just like, whoa, what is this stuff? The criminals will be leaving this stuff. Like, no, man, that's too extreme. I mean, really. Old joke, right? Way back a long time ago, early founding of the country, the Puritans hated anything and everything that was connected to the Catholic Church, including Christmas. It would actually cost a 5-shilling fine if you were caught celebrating Christmas. You know, imagine being that guy. Oh, what do you do, man? I'm in here for murder. What'd you do? Celebrating Christmas. Oh, man, step away from me, man. But anyway, this client list has leaked out. Now, it's not a PR guy who's responding. Their lawyers are the ones responding and fielding questions. That's really interesting. Usually it's some PR liar. We take privacy seriously. It's actually the lawyers who are responding to comments on this. Very interesting. And they're very, very much saying it wasn't a hack. It wasn't a hack. It wasn't a hack. Well, what was it? Somebody walked away with your lists and they're bleeding out online on the darknet. What was it? It was either a hack or a rogue employee. I don't know. And both of them are good enough reasons to not really want anything to do with your system. So those are our privacy stories. Let me know your thoughts on this article and the other articles. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Go ahead and hit that notification button. Hit that like. Leave me a comment. And enjoy switching to Linux.